Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So now this one, is it Black Panther versus Storm, or is it Storm versus Black Panther? It really could have went either way, but what gets me is the fact that she gets upset about him being prepared for this happening. But if she struck him with lightning and he just died, that would have been okay. And it's really not where the conflict stemmed from, but it's one of those things that escalated the situation in the heat of the battle. But we'll check it out after this. Alright, so this showdown takes place during the time of the whole Avengers vs. X-Men event, which had a whole lot going on that I'm not going to dive too deep into. But when a whole bunch of mutants got wiped out, and Hope Summers was the first mutant born after that, at one point all the Avengers and all the X-Men had their idea of what they were going to do when they found her. But even during that event, you had characters like Hawkeye who had his own idea of how Avengers vs. X-Men was finna go down. And most of that was Spider-Woman versus all the other women. And although it didn't quite pan out the way that he imagined, it was still funny to see, especially when Cap caught him sitting back dreaming about it. And it might not have been too bad of a series, but I guess we'll never know. But yeah, for those who are unfamiliar with the event, this is the same event that also the Phoenix Force split into the Phoenix 5, and then Cyclops, endowed with this power, faced off with Professor X and killed him. But even before that went down, everybody was already on edge. Mainly because searching for Hope, everybody split up in different teams, so there's different matchups all across the globe. But the death of Charles Xavier is something that just blew it up to a whole nother level. Didn't mean blow up like, well, maybe bad choice of words. Sorry, Charles. But you can tell even when Storm takes the fight to T'Challa, like there's a number of things that she's upset about, and the death of Charles Xavier is one of them because it kind of comes out while they're fighting and having a discussion at the same time. But before I dive deeper into that, I want to talk about T'Challa, the preparations he's made for this, and the reasons why he's made those preparations as well. Now, first and foremost, before anything, as King of Wakanda, he has a responsibility. And that responsibility goes way beyond just the protection of his people, but it also extends to securing his kingdom as the only settlement on Earth that hasn't been conquered by another settlement. And not to mention that this settlement is home to one of the most precious elements on Earth. And that could be pretty stressful because you have to form a tangible solution to infinite number of threats. And each and every one of your solutions has to be ready to go at any time. Because when it's go time for him, he can't be getting ready. Because in the event that he's faced with a threat that he's unprepared for, it could cost him everything. So even at times that he's preparing for these threats, he has to face the conflict of preparing a solution for threats that may be friends or enemies as well. And that's why he's mastered every fighting style and he's capable of using any weapon. But when it comes to going up against Wifey, very little of all that's going to help. As a matter of fact, the measures he takes towards Storm are more towards the effect of dampening her power, or the defensive towards, say, a blunt attack like struck by lightning or something like that. And this is more than likely one of the first more obvious precautions that he made in his defense from an attack from Storm. And that's probably because it's one of, if not the most lethal. Because a single bolt of lightning can carry up to 5 billion joules of energy. While your common surge protector, that'll range anywhere between 20 to 40 bucks for a decent one, will only go up to about 3,000 as far as joules of protection before it's useless. Yeah, so 3,000 compared to 5 billion, big gap. But this wasn't the first time that Storm had struck him with lightning, like directly. Because in a different issue, we see him sneak up on her and startle her, which gets that reaction for her to shock him, which is kind of his way of testing the waters. And he uses his gauntlet to deflect one strike while his suit absorbs the shock from the rest. And when she did this, obviously she didn't go full blast because she always knew there was the possibility that it could have been T'Challa. And she wasn't trying to kill him, but it's like once she knew that he had a preparation for it, she made sure to crank it up another notch. But at this point, she wasn't thinking about that. It was the first time she had ever shocked him. It was on accident, and things were fine between them, so she really didn't think anything of it. But T'Challa, on the other hand, had already showed at this point that he was making precautions for her. He was probably like, yeah, that hurt a little bit, so let me put a couple extra layers of insulation in the suit so she try that again, you know what I'm saying? Won't be out here looking crazy and nothing, you know what I'm saying? Because he can take another one of those, but if it was like a little bit more, it might be a little bit harder to hide that pain. And so fast forwarding to the X-Men vs. Avengers event, we see Black Panther use those exact two same technologies in defense against Storm, trying to shock the hell out of him. And this time the result is much different because, like I mentioned earlier, she cranked it up. And similar to the last time, it's not a lethal dose, but it's enough to let him know that she ain't playing. And Black Panther is well aware of what Storm can dish out because he's seen her crank it up a few notches against opponents who could take more. And by taking this precaution, she may see it as a breach of trust, but this is really just Black Panther being who he is. And this is really one of those classic cases where who they are individually gets in the way of what they can be collectively. Because it's one thing when you find out that a friend has made these precautions to put unmanned drones in the air, to alter compounds, to dampen Storm's ability to manipulate the weather. And it's more than a friend, it's your husband that does this. But I think one thing that really had a trigger is when he voice activated countermeasures for Mutant X-85. I know just at that point she's like, oh, I'm X85, so who the hell is 1 through 84? But it's right when he does that she comes down and starts throwing them hands. And he's falling back and explaining himself like, hey, this is you coming at me. I'm just blocking your punches, figuratively speaking. But she don't hear none of that. The only thing she notices is that he took a whole lot of time and spent a whole lot of resources to make plans for how he's going to fight his own wife. And she's right about part of that because she is a threat. But she neglects the fact that it's his duty as king to be prepared for every threat, including herself. But to come down from the skies and try to throw hands with Black Panther is not really a good idea. She's missing punches, he's flipping out of the way, and he never swings back. But dodging all of her punches is probably making her more angry. And when her first punch finally did fall through is when he freezes up because she calls him a terrible husband. But throughout the course of all this taking place, both of them keep thinking back to how things used to be, what could have been, what could have avoided it. Because even when they first met and the passion was strong, they were still pulled in two different directions. Storm was just a common thief at the time who felt like she didn't deserve him, and T'Challa was on his way to train to become the next Black Panther. So shortly after they first met, she went on to join the X-Men, and T'Challa completed his training and became Black Panther. But really, I think it was this first kiss where T'Challa figured out, hey, if I'm gonna kiss this girl, I need some insulated suit or something to protect me from lightning. Because if kissing this girl is just dangerous, man, I'm just saying. But the thing that they both miss, even looking back, is the reason why they're both perfect for each other. Because her personality is as powerful and as earth-shaking as the lightning she can control, which is quite the opposite of T'Challa's more calm and sovereign confidence, which is initially what had brought them together. But as we see their individual thoughts, like for every reason that T'Challa thinks that she wouldn't be happy with him, she feels like she would be more than happy. And like when the thought comes to him that it would have been worse if they had children together, Storm on the other hand believes that if they had children together, that it would have brought hope to their situation. As a matter of fact, for Storm, the thought of them never having kids made her just want to headbutt him in the face. And really for the most part of this fight, is Black Panther just taking a beating. Storm expresses that she's in an emotional state, saying not to blame it on Cyclops, don't blame it on Phoenix, or the death of Professor Xavier. There's also an admission of guilt on T'Challa's end for making all these precautions to go against Storm. So in other words, while she's still in an emotional state, a lot of stuff that she's yelling about is true. And if he had to make the choice between Storm or Wakanda, he would always choose Wakanda. Because when she says all of this ends now, and he's like, so be it, and they come together and kiss, right after that she just punches him in the face. And I'm not talking about like a love tap, she hit him hard like, you weren't supposed to say okay. But seconds later, she gets the word that Hope Summers, who they're looking for, isn't even there. So all the X-Men who came with Storm, they about to fall back. But before she leaves, her and Black Panther both realize they're on two sides of a battle that they can't move from. So before she goes, she leaves her ring with T'Challa and takes off. But that'll do it for this one, guys. But this one just goes to show you that in every versus, there's not always going to be one definite winner. Like in this case, both sides lost. But let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with either side or what you would have done differently in either of their shoes. And a real quick announcement for all my recent patrons, be sure to put in your shipping address too, so everybody pledging $5 and up can get your giveaway spills as those come in the future. And Osmi, I seen your comment in the last video, man. My bad, I ain't mean to butcher your name like that. But y'all be sure to smash that like button, and I got plenty of links up for you guys to check out more videos too. So I'll catch you on the next one. All right, later.